Call our regular meeting of City Council for Monday, May 8th, 2023 to order. Our first order of business is two delegations. 2.1, we have Jaron Neufeld, Chartered Professional Accountant from Sander, Rose, Bone, Grindle, LLP, regarding the review of the 2022 audited financial statements. So welcome, Jaron. And yeah, you're welcome. Perfect. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you very much. My name is Jaron Neufeld, and I'm a partner at Sander, Rose, Bone, Grindle, and I oversee the city's audit each year. So our auditor's report is found on page 2 of the financial statements. It's addressed to the mayor and council of the corporation of the city of Dawson Creek, and it states that we've audited the financial statements of the corporation of the city of Dawson Creek, which comprise of the consolidated financial statements as at December 31st, 2022, and the consolidated statement of operations and changes in surplus, changes in net assets, and cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the consolidated financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of the corporation of the municipality of Dawson Creek as at December 31st, 2022, and the results of its operations and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the consolidated financial statements in accordance with public sector accounting standards and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of consolidated financial statements that are free from material misstatement. As auditor, our objective is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the consolidated financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report which includes our opinion. As part of an audit that's been performed in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of a material misstatement. We obtain an understanding of the internal controls relevant to the audit. We evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used, and we conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis. We also evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the consolidated financial statements. And finally, we communicate with those charged with governance, i.e. mayor and council, regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that we identify during our audits. So, in other words, another clean auditor's report. So.
Thank you, Jaron.
Thank you.
Is there any questions from council? No? All right. Thanks again, Jaron, for taking the time and presenting this. And, we appreciate working with you. So thank you.
No worries. Thank you guys very much. And thanks to your staff as well. They work very hard to get us all the information that we need in order to put this together. So
great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
So our next order of business is 2.1. We have Mr. Lloyd Garvin, laborer, Ms. Nicole Reed, stores clerk, Mr. Johnny Pasick, equipment operator, for the city of Dawson Creek in attendance regarding the proclamation to declare May 21st to May 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. So if you want to come up here and then I'll read the proclamation out. You can just come stand up here if you want, and then welcome. All right, where?
Get in there, get closer,
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
I'll invite a little.
Yeah, you can get closer. I thought that's good. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of people of Dawson Creek. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Dawson Creek to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year of 2023 marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st to the 27th, 2023, as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, and government agencies to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contribution they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. So I just wanted to say thank you. I know what you do is probably not easy every day because we get a lot of comments, and it's the first to look at things that this needs to be done or that needs to be done. But I want to tell you from myself and council that we are so thankful for our team that we have. Our city right now looks absolutely amazing. For coming out of winter, there's still obviously some potholes we haven't got to, but like the rocks, the sweeping, the cleaning, the parks, it really doesn't go unnoticed. Like, it looks amazing. You can see it when you drive around, and you can go visit other communities and see that they're not where we're at. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud that we have the team we have to do that. So I know it's easy in life for people to look at the negative things and what we always need to do, but I really mean that when I say it is amazing what you guys do, and our city does look amazing. And I had 2 comments last week out of the blue where people called me up just saying wow, our city looks good, and and it's from everybody, right? We see Lloyd out there early every morning cleaning our streets and doing that, but you just drive around, the streets are clean. Dawson Creek looks beautiful and amazing, and that's all because of what you guys do every day. So we really do appreciate it. So thank you very much. So, yeah, thank you. There we go. We're gonna picture, and then I'm gonna make all the council come up. And we're gonna Councilor Parzo likes walking lots. We want to keep him
That
active.
doesn't sound like he does.
Oh, he did make a very nice comment earlier, so I gotta watch what I say now.
I'll stand behind your comment.
Thanks.
Perfect. There you go. Thank you very much. So I don't know if you.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'll take that. You're probably.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. You bet. Thanks. All right, our next order of business is 2.3. Somebody want to just grab them? Devin, Aaron came. Marcel Cobell, coach, Jeff Taylor, captain, and Mark Hasselwood, the president of the Dawson Creek Senior Canucks, in attendance regarding the presentation of the Campbell Cup Awards. So, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us. I am Jeff Taylor.
Here, Jeff, I'm just going to grab you a mic just so people
Sure.
can.
Just wait, what to stand there.
Yeah, you can stand there. Yeah.
X marks the spot, just stand
Yeah,
back.
whatever. This is just so people on social media can hear you.
Okay.
Here, yeah.
All right. My name is Jeff Taylor. I am captain of the Senior Canucks, and this is Dan Probelski, treasurer. We are here today with the Campbell Cup, which is the North Peace Hockey League Championship trophy for senior men's hockey. We've been without this trophy for 20 years until now. So last time a team won it was in 02-03. So we were able to get through somewhat painfully in overtime in Game 7, but we got the job done. So we are here to thank the city for the support. It was nice having a full arena every night to get this thing done finally. So it was a long grind. I think we had 8 overtimes throughout the playoffs. So it was good, and it was nice to bring the cup home to Dawson Creek. So anything for you?
Nope, just like thank the city for all the help and the support, and we asked a lot.
Yeah, and I think on our behalf, I know this, your guys' organization a few years ago had some struggles, and there was talk about it maybe not going again. So, I think, hats off to the organizing committee and the group that it has helped keep your guys' organization moving forward. And I know it takes a lot of time and commitment, but also, a huge congratulations for this, but, also to see what it did for our community and how it brought so many people together at the arena. It's been years since, that arena's been full on those, for games like that. So, it's just events like that shows us why Dawson Creek is so amazing, and we have such great community spirit. And I just really wanted to thank you and the team and the whole organization for doing what you guys do and the commitment, and obviously the congratulations for bringing this back to Dawson Creek. But I also believe the Koi Cup, you guys were successful.
Yeah, so we
there as
won
well?
the Koi Cup 3 years in a row. This year we fell a little short. Just
We were a little tired.
A little banged
Yeah.
up, but we won that 3 years in a row prior as well. So we would love to be able to host it here in Dawson Creek. It's kind of on the agenda for BC Hockey that we haven't hosted it yet. So I know the pad's coming out, but in the near future, if there's an opportunity for us to host that tournament, it would bring some of the other teams and people to the community, which could be a good thing. So
Yeah.
that's our hope, and just want to thank the city for all the support, and absolutely right. It's nice seeing the rink full. It's been a long time since I've seen that, and it took me my whole career to win it once. So
Yeah.
37 years old, we got it done. So
So are you retiring now, or are you?
yeah, I think that's.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's not like that was officially going into a retirement speech, so I was like,
No.
Out on top.
yeah, exactly. So
We'll see what happens.
perfect. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks so
and,
much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you push your button, Councillor Parslow?
So can you tell me some history about this cup?
The cup originated with the formation of the North Peace Hockey League in 1953.
Right.
Oh, okay. The trophy.
It should be on if the green light's on.
Oh, okay. The trophy got started as the championship trophy for the NPHL in 1953 when the league was originally formed. They ended up changing, creating a new one when the North Peace Hockey League started competing against the South Peace Hockey League. And the Campbell Cup became the championship trophy for the winner of the two. So it's considered to be the trophy for the top men's hockey team in the piece, both Alberta and BC. So not an easy trophy to win. It is a long grind. It's basically you'll probably play more games in the playoffs than you did during the regular season. We played a 20-game schedule and 19 playoff games. So so it is not an easy trophy to win, and the people who win it, it's hold dear because of the price of getting it.
So can I ask the second question then? So what are some of the other teams you play in this league? Like
This year?
no, who else is in the lead? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Currently in the North Peace Hockey League, you have the Manning Comets, Grimshaw Huskies, Flair Pirates, Valley View Jets, the Grand Prairie Athletics, South Peace Rangers, or Spirit River Rangers, Fort St. John, and ourselves.
Okay.
8 total.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
So it's the cup to win.
It is the cup to win, and we have the hardest route because we have all the big teams in our division. So we play Grand Prairie, Spirit River, Fort St. John. So getting to the final is more than half the battle.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Well, and I think we've seen that this year with how many, game sevens, and it was kind of cool to see how like the momentum built up, and like you could just feel it around the community. And
Yeah, we set a couple records this year that in hockey, if you're a stats guy, and I am, are going to be in the record book a long time. The previous record for overtimes played by a team was 6. We played 9. The round 2 when we played Spirit River, the goals against was 7. 1 goal wins all 7 games. Previous record was 11. So that's a long way from 7.
Yeah.
And then to give some kudos to some of the guys who wear the skates, Peyton Lee, our goaltender, crushed the goals against average, 171. So having a less than a 2, it's only happened twice in the history of the league.
Good.
So it was a great effort this year.
Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. And thank you again. I mean, not just from us, but for this community as a whole, because, just amazing, what the accomplishment, what you did, but also what it did for our community. So thank you.
A lot of fun.
So we're going to get a picture.
Perfect. Yeah, we're doing a picture. Yeah. Can Charlie, can we have him holding it and drinking out of it?
It's dry
Drinking out of it?
Drinking's okay, French fries no. They're hard to clean out of.
Is it quite heavy?
It is.
It's heavier than you think.
They pay a deposit to bring it home.
Oh, I'll stand in front of you.
You're holding it.
No, you're the man.
No. You've earned it. I'll hold it with you.
No.
Charlie only watches soccer.
All right, I only watch soccer. And rugby first.
Can you see everybody there?
Yeah.
A smile. I'm not even holding this one bit, Charlie. He's holding the whole thing. He must be sweating right away.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Excellent. Really appreciate it.
Well done.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
Thanks for having
Well,
Yeah,
I
no,
come
thanks for
from
coming.
the equivalent of the mayor would fill that up with scotch.
Sure, absolutely.
I think you should.
Keep it for the day, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have a rack behind, I could set it.
Yeah, right there, that'd be perfect. Okay,
Thanks again.
awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Ashton, it's not a big deal if you, yeah, I'll be fine. All right, where am I here? Just before I get to our next order of business, I meant to touch base on this at the beginning, but if, those that are watching, all of council and staff today are wearing yellow. And that is just in representation of National Awareness Week for Wishbone Day, which is actually the color of yellow is chosen to show support on Wishbone Day on today for May 8th. So we're wearing that on recognition. Hayden, a local young boy in grade 4, has had some troubles in his life with osteogenesis imperfecta, which is just a type of a bone disease that affects him. So I'm going to touch a little bit more under Mayor's update on Hayden, because I got the privilege to hang out with him last week a little bit, so it was awesome. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out why we were wearing yellow. So thank you, everybody. Back to the agenda. Our next order of business is 2.4. We have Mr. Jesse Curiata, Dawson Creek Minor Hockey Association, and Julianne Selmier, the Mile Zero Figure Skating Club, in attendance regarding a request to amend ice allocation policies. So, welcome. I just got to hit that button on the mic, Jesse, and then I will turn it on. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. And the floor is yours. So.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Good morning. My name is Jesse Curiata. I'm on the executive for Dawson Creek Minor Hockey. I'm here with Julianne Selmeyer. She is the president of Mile Zero Figure Skating Club. We are asking to have the ice allocation policy adjusted to include the months of August and April in the normal regular season use. That way we can get the regular ice season rates of rental for those months. We feel that lots of our youth registrants are leaving town during those months to go do hockey camps and do spring hockey in April. And we feel that as Dawson Creek as a community, we're missing out on that. And it's starting to draw a lot of kids out of the area too, is what we're finding. And so we're asking to have the option to be able to rent the ice earlier in the year and later in the season to allow us to run camps and programs to keep families in Dawson Creek and keep the money in Dawson Creek. So.
Okay. Great, thank you, Jesse.
Just to sort of add to that too, one thing to take into consideration as well is that skater development, whether it be hockey or speed skating or figure skating, takes time. 7.5 months is really relatively short. A lot of our skaters are just kind of peaking, and we're looking at ice coming out within a week or two. The other issue that we're facing is that there's competition starting in September, and they're not getting on the ice until September, so that's not a viable option for them. That's a competition that's just not in the wheelhouse for them, and competition that also goes to the end of June. So again, when the ice is coming out mid-April, that is a competition that's off the table for them. They can't attend because they don't have the practice time. It's just really disheartening for the skaters. They work really hard and they're just kind of coming into something, and we have to end their season. So it would be really nice to be able to extend that, get them on the ice sooner, and get them on there longer, and let them develop their skills even further, and let them be real contenders when they're in competition.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you both for coming, and a huge thank you to both you and both your organizations and all the users at the arena. I know it's all volunteer based, and you guys put a lot of your own time in to give back to the community. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And I have a few questions, but I'll open it up to council first. And Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. As far as minor hockey goes, how many tournaments do you guys host annually?
Annually, we are hosting anywhere between 5 and 8 a year.
5 to 8 a year. And now, a question for both of you: if council was to approve putting ice in August 1st, will you be able to host camps this year?
Yeah, I feel that us as a board, we can put together a camp, even a little league-based thing for the month of August to fill the ice 100%.
Right.
We would hold
Yeah.
camp, and we would also just start our season.
Yes.
Follow it up with season start. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, same with us. Like we if the ice isn't in August, we rent out of town. We go to
Yes.
Pebble Ridge or Taylor, even Fort St. John, Grand Prairie, to host our beginning of our tryouts, which usually start third week of August. So we're already on the ice, whether it's in Dawson or not. So
Forcing our residents to travel outside of our community.
Yep.
Added expense. For
at an
lifestyle.
expense, spending money in other communities around the area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Earl.
Thank you very much, and thank you both for coming to see us today. Just a couple questions. I'm not sure if you've got this information handy, or you can kind of ballpark it for us. Number one, how many members would you say your respective organizations have? And number two, what percent of those members are residents of Dawson Creek, and what percent are residents of the rural area?
Go ahead.
So for instance, last year we had about 330 youth participants, youth registrants in Dawson Creek Minor Hockey. Of those 330, I would say we had about 10% were from out of town at most. And that out of town was mainly to do with the Alberta rural communities, with Savannah, Bonanza, Baytree. And then we had some coming in out of town from Chetwynd, Tumble Ridge, Taylor, to play on our competitive teams,
Yeah.
or rep teams. So.
Cool.
We have about 175. We're ballparking there. And I would say that probably we'd fall in line. About 10% are coming in from out of town. The majority are from within. And those who are coming from out of town, they all belong to the PRRD. We're not into the Alberta area.
Okay. Thank you both.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, I find those statistics in contrast to some of our other sports where 35% are rural residents. So I'm just wondering about that. You stated kids out of area, you lose kids. So do you want to expand on that? I mean, are they playing for hockey teams in Spirit River, Tumbler Ridge, or what did you mean by that?
By that I meant, so in those months where we don't have the ice in, kids are going out to camps out of town.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the April months, they are joining spring league hockeys out of Grand Prairie mainly, some out of Fort St. John and stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, that's where I meant in
Yeah.
that part.
No, that's fine. I understand that. I was thinking that during the regular season that they were now playing somewhere else because they develop friendships from their oldest experience.
Yeah, that's definitely been a theme over the last couple of years, especially with COVID and stuff. We probably lose on average because there's different leagues starting up. What we refer to as the outlaw leagues and stuff, where they do offer a little bit higher competition and a little bit different structure. And I'd say we lose up to 5 kids a year to those leagues from our association because they do run bigger, longer programs. So
Sure. So one last question. Staff may be able to provide the information, but my memory, we've had these requests pretty well for many years, right? And I have a recollection, it's only a recollection, that a council said, sure, if you can guarantee that you will use the arena for, and I'm making this figure up, but just to illustrate, right? 20 hours for the month or something like that, and you are unable to do that. So what guarantees can you give us that you will actually use the ice on a reasonable basis?
So right now with booking summer ice and spring ice, the city Parks and Rec has requested that we fill, I believe it's 70% of the ice. And in the years past when we've come up and asked for the same thing, we have been able to guarantee that we would between the two clubs. And so we would be able to guarantee that we would be able to fill it 70%.
Yeah. Further to that, in the springtime, for the month of April, or I guess for the 2 weeks of April, there is a minimum requirement that is meant to be made. So the figure skating club, we just say, we'll meet it. Whether we use all of the ice or not, we will pay for it. So the most that we've paid for in that 2-week time frame is about 13 hours of blank ice. Generally, every year we do pay for blank ice of some nature. The lowest has been 6, the most has been 13 hours. And the city is fabulous with helping us sell off that ice. I know that hockey will take some, private users take some, fossils, like all kinds of user groups kind of pop in and take ice with us, but we just guarantee that it's paid for one way or the other.
So supplementary, based upon what you just said, so was it just 2 weeks in April, not the month?
No,
And now you're asking for the month,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Earl. So just for some clarification, and Kevin can maybe correct me if I'm mistaken, the existing policy as it stands is we don't do summer ice without a guarantee of certain hours, but those hours are not subsidized as they are during the regular ice season, and that makes it prohibitively expensive for organizations like your own to run these things. And I recall one meeting specifically where we were asked put the ice in early, and I think it was for a camp that would generate $8,000 of revenue, and the cost to taxpayers to subsidize it was $12,000. That's one thing that's stuck in my head. So I think that is the question here is are we amending the ice policy to return to a time of subsidies for summer ice so that you can run these camps?
So through your worship, I was just looking at the fees and charges. So for 2023, for those rates, prime time ice rental for youth is $108 an hour. And summer ice for youth be $408 an hour.
So the ask today is to extend the regular ice, not
Yeah,
to
I
avoid
understand the
summer
ask to
ice.
be that they would be seeking the regular rate, the regular winter rate for any extension that's considered by council.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Councillor McDonald?
Sorry, and can you further explain what Councillor Earl was saying there? What's all in that subsidized number then? Like, how do we come up with a $12,000 subsidy? Is it based off of that $400 an 8 rate, or is it the $108 rate?
Yeah, so through your worship, the 12,000, I'm not 100% sure. What I can speak to is the rates. And so the idea of the higher rate, the $408 rate, when it was established a number of years ago, and it's had escalators to do and CPI and whatnot, but the intent there was it was supposed to be cost recovery. That if council was going to open that arena outside what would consider to be regular, the regular season, that they would seek to recover the expense of that. So that 408 takes into account, staff, your hydro, your gas, all of those things. Where the regular season rates, it's accepted that, it's going to be a subsidized facility. And that was hence the lower rates. And youth gets lower rate than adults and so on.
So to allow the youth to succeed in our community, we're going to make them pay a 300% surcharge than they would pay during their normal times? That was the thought across that, or?
The philosophy of a former council was that there would be cost recovery.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. And a few questions. Obviously, the arena and the ice time is subsidized by taxpayers throughout the regular season, and for us to extend that, there will be a little bit of a cost, obviously, to the users, but there's also a cost to the rest of the taxpayers, which we have to, think about when we're making these decisions. But I know in the past, minor hockey a little bit got away from tournaments because of the amount of work and effort, but I know they're getting back into it. So is there, willing to be a commitment from, organizations that if we're willing to extend it, that, because as you do tournaments, like you said, or figure skating events, or, the Kodiaks, or, all those events, that brings people to our community, which drives our economy. And for me, that's a big part of, in decisions. I just asked that question. If we were to look at that, is there a way that the organizations could commit to having a minimum, and maybe it's, each hockey league has to have at least, a tournament per team, or however that is,
Yeah, definitely. That is a reasonable ask. And it's something that we could guarantee that we could cover the ice for X amount of hours per day, whatever council seeks that would be reasonable, I guess. Like I said, in the past, it's always been about 70% allocation, or it needs to be allocated. So, and between all the different user groups, whether it's minor hockey, figure skating, or even the adult recreational groups and stuff, we've always been able to guarantee that. So yes, it's definitely something we could do.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed some of the other communities around here, like early in the fall, they have tournaments, probably because their ice time's a little bit longer. So I'm wondering if
definitely.
Okay.
For figure skating, it's a little bit different. Our totem competition is divided between Dawson Creek and Fort St. John. So this year we hosted, next year Fort St. John will host, and they just go back and forth so that we're not colliding with hockey on that weekend. So the year that they host their tournament, we're in Fort St. John, and then the following year they're not in a tournament, so then we host ours. So what we would do to help offset would then be seminars. It would allow us probably 2 more seminars, and when we host seminars, we almost always bring in coaches from outside of Dawson Creek, high-level coaches, higher level than what we already have. And then we also open it up to invite other clubs as well to come in and join us. So when we had Totem this year, We had a special guest join us, which was Elvis Stoico and his wife Gladys, which was absolutely amazing. So they were with us for Totem for our club carnival for the 2 days, and then the following day we did a seminar and we invited like 4 or 5 other clubs from our area to come and join us as well. So they not only came for that day, but they came for the night before. They spent night in the hotels because they were watching the carnival, and then they were here for the seminar as well. So we do offset that way.
Okay, thank you. Another question I had, I've heard some talk about this, but is there any like vision or future where you see these organizations working in collaborations with the school district? And possibly, I know some of our surrounding communities have some really good programs with their school district where some of these athletes can, use these facilities while school times, which, is a downtime for us, as we all know. So is that something that you're actively pursuing and you see a future with that, or is it something you're not looking at?
I know with minor hockey, we have definitely pursued it in the past, but it's always come down to cost of ice per hour during those downtimes during the day, and it was always the $400 an hour kind of thing, and so it wasn't we couldn't do it at that rate, and so it's never really been looked at since. But it's definitely something that we would love to do because we do see it in every other neighboring community with their athletic programs and stuff. So,
okay,
Definitely something that we would love to look into. We have talked about it. It would definitely take a collaboration between the city, the school district, and the clubs as well. Just working on timetables and availability of ice and costs and all that stuff. So definitely something worth exploring. Don't know how to open up that conversation. Because like I say, it would take all 3 parties.
Okay.
Or 4.
Yeah, I know there was some talk, I think it was around the U17 leadership coaches there that were talking, and they reached out to me about if we would be in support. It was something that council would have to guide, but I think on anything, like whether it's, hockey, figure skating, or SEALs swim club, like we have a lot of amazing youth programs in our community that I think there could be some benefit from the school district. And obviously I'm not in position to talk on behalf of the school district. But, I think it would be something that we would look at. So, okay. And then just to clarify the ask. So I've also had some discussion, so going August 1st to the end of April, but I've also heard like August 15th. So is August 1st the dream, August 15th is doable, or is it August 1st? I know in the letter, we're both August 1st, but I've had some discussion about August 15th too. So I guess when we bring it back later, we just need to be clear on what your ask is. And
I think at this point, our ask is for August 1st.
Okay.
We would like to see it then. In the past, we've been trying to get a couple weeks earlier, but we feel it would benefit better to have the whole month of August.
Yeah.
And the whole month of April.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, Councillor Earl.
Thank you. And just for clarification, you're asking for both ice surfaces, the Memorial and the Kin?
Just one ice surface.
Just one ice
Yes,
surface.
during those
So
winter times.
if we're talking about the Memorial, have we been in touch with the curling club about should council consent to this? There's some opportunities there for the curling club because they're on the same chiller as the Memorial, correct?
So through your worship, the equipment for the chiller is in separate equipment, but
Okay.
in the memorial. And I suspect through conversations I've already had with the curling rink that they would be interested in some earlier ice as well.
Okay. And does that, I guess we're getting into the weeds kind of, but how's that impact the cost to run the facility and by extension, the subsidy? Just looking at, scales of economy
Right.
and utilization.
So to run the arena, the Memorial Arena, for an additional month will be $80,000. And the expected revenue is probably somewhere in that $20,000 to $24,000 range. So council needs to be aware of that.
Okay.
So $80,000 additional expense for every month that it operates, plus or minus.
Okay. And just because it's happening in the summer, I assume the utilities are a bit higher than they'd otherwise be in the winter. It's not really a factor.
Yeah, so through your worship, dependent on the weather, I'm sure it'll average out throughout the year. Is it that much more in August than it is in September? Maybe a little bit, but I mean, I think, if we use the
Yeah.
rule of thumb of that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Those are my questions.
I guess too, just to go to the financial part, I have some questions around that, but I think I'll just save them for when we bring it back under mayor's business. But Councillor McDonald?
Have you guys been in communication with the Kodiaks at all and their desire for the ice?
Yeah, we have been. We were hoping that the Kodiaks would have been here today, but they didn't submit anything on time. But in discussions with them, they are seeking the exact same thing that we are, especially for they run a youth camp, and the last many years it's been out of Tumbler Ridge.
And they've suggested to you, I know it's hearsay now, but suggested to you that they would like to bring that back to Dawson Creek?
Yeah. Whether that could happen this year or not, I don't know exactly with them, but definitely in future years, 100% bring it back to Dawson Creek.
Okay.
I can answer a little bit to that on the Kodiaks. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I had some dialogue with them around that, and I know that they've built a really good relationship with Tumbler Ridge, and we have a really good relationship with them as well. So it would be tough to say if we move this, they're going to move here. So I don't think we could make that part of our decision. The other part is I did ask them if they did continue to have that in Tumbler, if there's a benefit to them with the ice time, and they said they would use it. But it might not be for that, so. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I'm sitting here just a little, the expression I'm going to use is gobsmacked, that the organizations that you've, not your organizations, but the people you talked about competitions in June, right? That, in this time when we're concerned about our environment and global warming, that we push winter sports into the summer. I'm just gobsmacked. Obviously, I want the best for our kids, right? But where's the social responsibility there? That's what I'm struggling with. It's just like some of my South Asian friends, right, who want to play cricket indoors during the winter, right? That's a summer sport, right? And it's the same sort of thing. We want to, and I have the same thoughts as I came back from Poos the other day. See this array of big trailers, horse trailers, right? I'm glad they're here in the community, but I just couldn't help wrestle with, the fuel bills and the carbon loading of our atmosphere, right? So I have struggles with this from the point of view of, on the one hand, kids and opportunities, and the other hand, global warming. So I'm just verbalizing what's going on in my head here. But why do they hold essentially winter sports in June? Is it always been that way, or is it just growing that way?
It is growing that way.
Growing that way.
It's growing that way, and there are many centers now that keep their ice in year-round, and it's not necessarily considered a winter isolated sport. If you look at high-caliber skaters, they skate year-round. When they're going to the Olympics, they don't take time off. So it's kind of going in that direction where we're following suit, and we're providing opportunity for these skaters to keep developing and keep going.
Okay, thank you.
I think too, with like the advancement of athletes in today's world, it's like at a whole new level than where I was younger. I mean, it's just, you see these professional athletes and they're just at a whole different level. But yeah, those are my 2 cents that I probably didn't need to share, but yeah. Is there any other questions from council? No? All right, well, thank you again for coming in. So what'll happen later is this will just get brought back up under Mayor's update for your ask, and we'll discuss it, and we'll know today what the answer is, and we'll let you know. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you
yeah, you
so
bet.
much.
Thank you for coming in,
Thank you.
and thanks again for what you guys do in the community, and we appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next order of business is 3 late items. Think there's any late items? No late items? Next, for new councillor business, 4.1, we have councillor liaison report from Councillor Apollonio regarding the Dawson Creek Public Library. Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just reporting about the meeting that we had last April 17, 2023 at the Dawson Creek Public Library. In attendance are 7, including myself, and of course it started at 7 o'clock. Of course, part of my report are the agenda, financial statement, because like in the city council now, in the city, they're producing the financial statement. Of course, they're negotiating about the benefits between Manulife and Canada Life because under still negotiation for their union. Of course, one of the wonderful report or part of the meeting is the library received a good amount for the enhancement grant for $128,081.89 to be used for over 3 years. And of course, during a discussion, we discussed about like what are we going to use for the money, and of course, the library manager said that she opted for like technical, like the computer. But during the discussion, though it's not if they could accommodate my request, like suggested if the library could be senior, PWD, and parents guardian accessible for them, because I know the stairs are kind of stiff or hard to climb, especially I was supporting people with disability. And normally we go to the library, and I just thought of that, and it's been like, I think for like a time now, there's no ramp or no elevator. So just only part of my suggestion. And I told them if they could help the city to, in case they need a grant or something, or maybe pattern after the art gallery. Then, of course, the Pinterest afternoon, April 29. And then, of course, there's a late meeting. We had a special meeting during that month. The audited financial statement was passed April 27. And, of course, yeah, that's basically it. So, thank you. Thank you, Worship.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Councillor Earl, did you have a question for that, or were you, okay. Okay, so our next order of business is, I guess, did anybody have any questions for Councillor Apollonio? Next order of business, 4.2, we have council liaison report from Councillor Earl regarding the Kiwanis Performing Arts Centre.
Thank you, Worship. So as is detailed in the memo, attended the meeting on behalf of the city as a liaison, and in addition to the financial report, which continue to improve coming out of COVID, I did want to take note of a few things. Number one, the Macwoods production seminar, and we heard from those guys last month in here, but they also ran a seminar at KPAC for an introduction to filmmaking, and they just had a red carpet presentation of the films they made last week, but it was so successful that they are looking at adding it to their regular roster of courses offered. So congratulations. And then some upcoming events, which you can see there's a number to list, mostly musical, but one I did want to, or a couple I did want to pull out specifically. Indigenous Peoples Day event the week of June 20th to 23rd. And following that, the Multicultural Fusion Fest on June 24th. These are events that, started just prior to COVID, and they saw a bit of growth. But now that we're out of COVID, the hope obviously is that we're going to continue to see these events grow and become a part of our annual roster of cherished events here in the city. So just thank you to the board. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to try and speak to that.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Any questions? No. Thank you again. Next order of business, 4.1, we have memo from Councillor Earl regarding Dawson Co-op 100th Annual General Meeting. Councillor Earl.
Thank you again, Your Worship. And I do, I didn't manage to get a memo done, but I do have 1 or 2 items I'd like to mention. When
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Good, thank you. But just wanted to, I attended the 100th Annual General Meeting for the Dawson Creek Co-op, and I just wanted to say as our most annual general meetings, it was pretty straightforward and non-eventful as far as the many motions and financial reports, but I did want to make note of a 100th Annual General Meeting. That's a pretty momentous achievement for any organization in this day and age, and very lucky to have those guys continue to work in the region and continue to pursue new opportunities. And they did mention some stuff that's coming up that they're into. I won't steal their thunder by mentioning it here, but very exciting and very much appreciate it. So thank you and congratulations to the board of directors and their executive and all their members.
Thank you, Councillor Olin. I'd like to, reiterate it's the co-op is a huge part of our community and what they do, and they're very innovative and they run a very good operation. So there is some exciting things coming. So thanks, Councillor Earl.
And sorry, just one or two things just to tell in. So I did last week of the week before, attend the Community Action Team meeting on behalf of the city. That is the reconstituted COAT, I think, was the previous acronym, but it was a good discussion, and put them in touch with the folks from Citizens on Patrol to make sure they get to be a voice at the table. But there's it's great to see that organization being stood back up, and I look forward to seeing where it goes from here. Also attended an open house with Aubert and their new office space, and they're finally settled in. So congratulations to them, and once again, look forward to the work they're doing. And lastly, I attended a Chamber of Commerce mixer last week at their new building, and it was all an eclectic mix of local business people, the movers and shakers, and it's great to see them getting situated in the new building and getting back to doing events. I think it's something that's much needed and much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. All right. Is there any questions? All right. Next order of business is 5, adoption of minutes. We have 5.1 minutes of the regular meeting of council from April 24th, 2023 for adoption. Councillor Apollonio, second. Councillor McDonald. We'll call that to vote. Oh, I guess I got to push the button, hey? Vote is closed. It's carried. I'm actually just going to take a 2-minute break here. I'll be right back. 23 back to order. Next order of business is 6. Was there any business arising? Sorry, I jumped out a little early. And then 7, correspondence. Before we get to 7.1, I was just going to move a resolution or make a motion to allow Dave Miazy and Neil Smedit from the Dawson Creek Slow Pitch League to just come up to the delegation and say a few words. So I will make that motion. Somebody would like to second. Councillor Kempf. I will call that to vote. One more. Good. Vote is closed and it's carried. Welcome, Dave and Neil. You guys can come up to the delegation table and then just hit that button. If you hit the button on the center of it, then I'll turn it on. There we go. Welcome, and the floor is yours. So I guess I'll give council a bit. I just seen this letter come in, and then Dave reached out to me and wasn't sure of the process, but they wanted to talk a little bit, so that's why I made that motion. So thanks for coming and for submitting the letter. So
thanks. We were right now what we have is we rent the diamonds hourly. So on the weekends we were hoping we could figure out a price and we could do it as a weekend rate to do it. We've reached out to a couple other towns to see what they do. Right now, Grand Prairie, they do 3 diamonds at $17.85 for the weekend, and then they have full staffing on that works the fields, does garbages and everything. Taylor into smaller and less good diamonds, like they're not as in good shape, and they do $450 a weekend with no staffing. Right now, we're paying, if we did a full weekend of ball, would be about $2,700 for the weekend. So at the rate we're at right currently. So we were just looking at if we could do, instead of an hourly, do a lump sum rate for the weekend. Okay. And that way we could run right now, last year we only ran the one tournament, but it was for the fall fair and rodeo. And we had 8 out of town teams and then 6 in town. But this year we're already we have 2 scheduled and we're hoping to do a couple more. And right now we've been running a bunch in Poos because it's free, right? So.
Okay.
So yeah, I think last year Poos Koopy held about 5 tournaments. Like Dave said, they are free, so we held 5 there. And then we did have a big success with the fall fair tournament. We brought in some of the big outer town teams that brought in some great competition for our Dawson Creek teams. So that was great to see. And yeah, we just want to be able to host a couple more tournaments, bring in, like we said, hopefully 14 teams for our 3 diamonds. And that brings in, the hotels and restaurants and everything for all the other businesses around. So, and normally an entry fee for everywhere else is about $400 for a team. You're bringing about 14 players, 12 to 14 players every team. So if you're traveling from out of town, that's normally what the entry fee is for all over Alberta and BC is about $400 a team. So we're just trying to, so we can have a little bit larger prizes that will actually draw the teams in. That's why we're kind of proposing, just seeing what we can get help out with.
Yeah, thank you. And I know, Dave, you did mention to me when I spoke last week about that your guys' committee on these tournaments, like you look after like the maintenance through the weekend, like you empty the garbages and clean the fields and do the lines. Like you're not asking for more city staff time. You're just
No, you're correct. For the fair, you guys waived the fees, so then we helped and we cleaned up everything afterwards. Like we did a walkthrough, cleaned up, all the garbage that was laying around. It happens. So we helped do that. So we're not asking for staff. We're just asking for like a rate based on just a weekend rate based on having no staff or anything doing that, or minimal staff at LAD, if depending on how you guys wanted to work it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't need more staff or
No,
any.
for sure, no.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Thank you. I'll open this up to, that was all that you had to show? Okay. Councilor McDonald?
Thank you, Worship. A couple of questions. Just what is the parameter of a weekend rate for you guys? Is that starting Friday at 4 p.m. to Sunday at noon, or what would you be looking for a weekend rate?
So normally on Fridays we start at 6 o'clock. We can get about 3 games from your 6 to 8, and then we'll have one night game because we got Diamond 3 has night lights, so we can run that 8 to 10, and then all day Saturday, and then usually you try to wrap up your playoffs around 3 o'clock, I think, on the Sunday, so we can get out of town teams on the road at a half decent hour.
Okay, and then you mentioned that Poos Koopy's free for their fields.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I just struggle then with what's the true incentive to be hosting here, even at a reduced rate, compared to Poos free.
Dawson has a better class of diamonds. That's longer. They're longer diamonds. So Poos Koopy's diamonds are usually about the 250 to 270 feet. To actually have an NSA sanctioned tournament, you got to be about 275 for the co-ed, where every diamond in Dawson is around the 300 feet. The infields are a lot more well maintained, so you're not risking injury as well. Poos, they're really hard. You get bad bounces all the time. The outfield in Poos isn't very good. So that's and then you guys spent money on the lights, and that's a great turnout for some of the bigger games. A lot of people stick around and watch the bigger games under the lights. So it's just having those nicer fields to play on just attracts better ball.
Okay.
And there's one more diamond, we can get more teams.
Oh, yes.
Because there's only 2 in Poos. So.
Okay.
Thanks, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Parslow?
Yeah, I learned a lot about the game from my grandsons who played a lot of ball. So I'm pleased that it's getting active again, right? Because it's been on a bit of a slow well, that maybe being fastball here is being put pretty well extinct, wasn't it, for a while? So is that coming back as well?
Not that I know.
Not that I know
Not
of.
that you know of.
Not for the seniors, I don't
No.
think. I don't
Okay.
know. It's tough, right? You need to host 7 or 8 good pitchers, right?
Yeah.
And we don't really have that kind of caliber for arms. Everyone's arms are getting kind of older for that, so.
Right. So I'm a little confused about the ask, okay? You're correct me if I'm wrong here. You would like to have the wheat rate applied to the weekend. Is that what you're asking?
No, what we'd like a weekend flat rate. Or it's
A week-
kind of what, right now, during the week that we're playing during league is hourly.
Okay.
And then during the old tournaments, when we used to go from just for the weekend rate, we would just get charged the hourly. And then that's why we're coming up with the $2,700 for the weekend.
Okay, so you'd like a weekend from the time span that you outlined to Councillor MacDonald, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, you say that a normal fee for a team is $400?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever thought that it we might be able to work out a deal based upon your income for the tournament?
Well, that's usually what we normally do. Is normally the registration fees covers the cost of your umpires to come up.
Oh, you've got that in addition.
Yes.
Oh, I get
So
you.
we got
Yeah.
all those in additions as well as paying for the rental
Yeah.
of the diamonds.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl.
Thank you very much, and thank you guys for coming to meet with us. How many folks do you have in your organization currently, members? I don't know if it's...
We have
if it's
20
in-
teams right
Okay.
now.
And is that-
Each team has 10 to 20, or 12 to 20 players.
And is that in Dawson Creek proper, or is that just kind of throughout the South Piece?
That's mostly Dawson, but there's some that come from Lake Bonanza and
Okay.
stuff like that, yeah.
And are you mentioned earlier a sanctioned thing. Are you part of a larger regional, national organization as part of that?
Yeah, we're insured and sanctioned through NSA, which is
Okay. National Softball
yeah.
Association.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And just one kind of question through you to staff, Your Worship, if I could, for some clarification. I mean, is there any reason we don't, other than just, I guess you'll let me know, we don't have weekend rates, or is it just a matter of?
So through your worship, just at the time of developing this policy, which would have been along the same time that we developed the ICE allocation policy we talked about earlier, was they just had hourly rates, maybe something they just hadn't thought of.
And I guess one other follow-up question, because I'm where my litigious mind goes. Well, I think it's great that user groups pitch in to help maintain the facilities after usage. Is there any potential issue that arises with collective agreement and our unionized staff around that?
So through your worship, the short answer is, yeah, maybe. Because depending on what work is being completed by the volunteer groups and whatnot, we would have to canvass that with the union perhaps.
Okay. Yeah, just, I mean, as I said, I think it's great that following the tournament last year, they were proactive in helping to maintain the facility, and you'd hope to see that kind of pitch in from everyone. But I also know as a municipal government, we are, our collective agreements are
I think if we're
fairly
just talking
specific.
about picking up garbage and whatnot, I don't see that being an issue. It's
Okay.
maybe if we go over into actual field maintenance where that might be more problematic.
Good to know. Thank you.
Bringing out our lawnmowers and cutting them. All right, is there any other questions? I guess just before we're going to be dealing with this next, but you're requesting a reduced price. Is there a magic number you're thinking about? Like, because if it's 2,700 now, like, just so we have an idea when we're discussing it?
No, we don't really have a set rate right now. Like you said, we don't want to interfere with any union members as well. But we would appreciate it if it, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if we could right in the morning have the fields worked up, because they do get beat up, especially on a Saturday with running 12 hours on the fields. There's lots of there, but it all depends on what the council would appreciate, what we can do, where we can help, where we can. Like we said, Grand Prairie is 1785, and they work up the fields, I think, twice during the weekend at their diamonds. But we understand with constraints and how everything is, we'll just kind of take what the council will allow us. We're just asking for, I don't know, never really came up with a number.
Okay, I just thought I would ask that question. And then, so like working the diamonds up, that's running a grate, obviously, back and forth. But is that something that you'd be willing to do too, or is that something where you're asking for?
We just didn't know if we were allowed, so we've never
Okay.
done it in the past, right?
Okay.
We have the equipment, we maintain booths.
Okay, perfect. Oh, Councillor McDonald?
Sorry, going back to the charges, when you say Grand Prairie's charging 1785, do you know what that, the timeline of that, is that a weekend rate? Basically starting with the hours you spoke of here as well?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just 3-day events, Friday night, Saturday, and it's all day Sunday.
All day
I
Sunday.
think Sunday, their league starts 6 PM on Sunday night, so the tournaments have to be done by then.
Okay,
I could be wrong on the exact time, but it's around there.
okay.
Thank you. Councillor Sudnick?
Thank you. Just a question, and I don't play ball, so I'm unfamiliar with the facility down there. But for $2,700, what do you get? What are we giving you guys besides unlocking the gate? Like, is there washing facilities down there? Is there water facilities down there? Is there garbage cans that are placed and removed? Like, what are you getting in return for $2,700?
There's porta potties down there now. I don't think they're cleaned I don't know if they're cleaned on the weekend. And the garbages usually aren't done on the weekend either, but they're there. There's garbage cans on every diamond, and there's a porta potty there.
So when you guys book tournaments, like, is the relationship fine? Like the fields are mowed, the lines are done, the garbage cans are clean, the bathrooms are ready to go. Like, is there facility prep that is being done for you guys to use these for that amount?
We've never had a problem, but I don't think there's any staff on the weekend normally when we book it.
Okay.
For the fall fair, we asked for them to burn the lines, so the council burnt the lines for us. But normally, yeah, we just, it's just usually garbage cans are changed and the porta potties are cleaned for the weekend.
Okay, and then just, I guess, this question for staff, like, are these fields regularly maintained twice a week with mowing and watering and everything, so that if somebody decides that they want to use them, they are ready to go at the drop of a hat? Or how much prep is required to pull the tournament off?
So through your worship, yes, regular maintained. That's one thing we've learned with these particular fields is that they have to be maintained whether they're being used or not. The infields are done, the grass is done, all that's done. Weekly, we have staff there that are dealing with ball diamonds and the soccer field. That's a regular rotation every week throughout the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And yeah, appreciate you coming in. So,
Thanks.
Can I just hit this button now?
yeah, I can shut it off too. But yeah, you can.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, our next order of business is 7.1. Email from Dave Misey, Dawson Creek Slow Pitch League, received on May 1st, 2023, regarding the request for reduced weekend rates for the Harry Morrow Ball Diamonds. I don't know, Kevin, do you, like, I guess, I don't know if there's any more information we would need, but what would, I guess to staff, what would be the cost to us for the weekend? Like, obviously there's a cost preparing it for the weekend, but if we're not staffing it, or there's no real extra cost for us to do this, or is there?
So through your worship, I mean, the hourly rate, I mean, I hear what Councillor Sudnick is saying, but what the hourly rate was established to help recover costs for our seasonal costs out there. to mow, maintain the infields, to do all that maintenance work. So that there was a number derived, and I'm pretty sure that that's not covering our costs. For the weekend, we can certainly shift some staff, move it around. There's going to be a few extra expenses along with that to have them there because, but it can be done. To be there to prep the fields in the morning on the Saturday and the Sunday, and then they can go do some other duties while the games are on.
Yeah, because I guess to get a staff member in for 2 hours on a Saturday and Sunday, like there's obviously a cost to that.
Yeah.
But there's also, right now they've only had one tournament a year here. Like so I get like there's a bigger view and, that
Absolutely.
the funding's got to be figured out. But if we were to allow this with no staff, there's no real extra cost.
No, through your worship, if you're correct, there's just foregone revenue. There's no additional cost.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I will throw this out here for somebody to put a motion forward. Councillor Parslow.
I wasn't prepared to make a motion, but
Can Councillor McDonald and then, or is there something you wanted to ask to make a motion?
well, I mean, just a few comments because we've had experts in give us a good framework for establishing these fees. And it's dangerous to make ad hoc decisions because we had this philosophy, the public good, private good considerations, and we established all these things. So that's just one reflection, right?
Yeah.
The other reflection is we maintain and have built these facilities at a public cost, but to facilitate these sort of recreational pastimes and the sport. It's a great low-cost sport. I like low-cost sports. We also, in our eventual strategic plan, we want to encourage tournaments. And so all I'm doing is my mind is churning around all these different dimensions. One side of me says, well, why not? Why not give them the facility for nothing? Okay, that's one side of it, because we maintain it already. Okay? If we do that, would we do that for others? Or is a possible deal that we'll take a percentage of your revenue, which we'd work out collaboratively, right? So it's not a position that I don't know what to do here, right? I'm just saying all I'm saying is, Kevin can speak to this, I'm sure maybe some staff can. We went through a lot of an excellent consultant, in my opinion, from Calgary. Remember that public-private good stuff, and it made a lot of sense to me. Yet it does seem to be an awful lot of money for a sport like this to charge for a weekend, right? By the hour, and a tournament weekend rate seems to be a good thing to think about. But I don't think any council was here when we went through this public-private framework for our fees and charges. So you don't know anything about it, really.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you. Councillor McDonald?
Yeah, I'd like to move to have staff research and come up with a competitive weekend rate to charge for our softball field rentals.
Second, Councillor Sednick. Discussion.
May I speak to the motion?
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. Like Councillor Parslow said, I think this aligns well with our upcoming strat plan of encouraging these type of events in our community to capture these economic benefits, the sport tourism, local sport tourism. I think it's just an overlook that we only had an hourly rate for our field rentals instead of an understanding of if somebody's going to come in and host a tournament where they rent our fields for, probably 20 hours, 25 hours over a weekend, there should be a reduced rate there. I think it's just missed, right? And it should be a part of our service fees.
Thank you. Councillor Earl, I shut you off if you want. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship. So I got some thoughts on this, but I just want to pose a question through you to staff, if I could. What are the current ball diamond utilization rates? Are we... whichever's easiest for you. I'm just, if we're booked up, giving a discount maybe doesn't make sense, but if we're running at 60 or 50% capacity, there might be.
Okay, so through your worship, so in 2022, Slow Pitch did use 60 hours. Minor Ball used 188 hours. Of course, everyone was getting used to COVID, right? So if we actually wanted to look more realistically, in 2018, their highest use for Slow Pitch was 343 hours, and Minor Ball was 101. At that time, Slow Pitch, the revenue we received was $10,000 based on, again, the fees and charges at that time, which was lower. Right now, the fees and charges rate for the hour is $39.12 for them, and it's $19.56 for youth.
What's the number of available hours out of...
The number of...
We are open from 8 until, through your worship. We're open, they can rent anytime between 8 a.m. on the weekends and 10 p.m. at night.
I think Councillor Earl's meaning...
Utilization rate.
How much time is it free? Like, are we at full capacity on the ball diamonds right now?
Through your worship. So for right now, it's... No, they haven't for their hours. Now, again, they share with Minor Ball. Minor Ball actually has higher usage because they're right after school hours and that type of thing, and they have quite a high group, and they've spread them out as from last year. Their group has increased in their numbers, so we would have to look and see what is still available. I know there is definitely weekends open, but for the most part, during the regular times, those are pretty full.
Okay. And then I'm assuming the hours and times you just gave us, Aaron, was not just weekends. That was overall.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get a sense of, what the demand is, what the potential is. Certainly once we get into an area where we're deviating or I guess reconsidering the established formula for subsidies, and in this case, when we're doing it to induce or incentivize potentially tourism tournaments, people coming into town, there is an economic development above and beyond the quality of life piece. There's an economic development piece we need to take into consideration, and at which point you start to regard it as somewhat of a loss leader. If for the cost of foregoing $2,000 or $3,000 worth of revenue, we can have 6 or 7 tournaments with people coming from out of town. It seems like a no-brainer, but once you get into that, there is kind of this, economic development becomes this amorphous, nebulous pit you can also just use to justify any level of subsidy and any level of support. So I echo Councillor Parslow's sentiment, as I'm very apprehensive of formulating policy on the fly. But I think Councillor McDonald's motion speaks to that as we're looking to get a report back. And as it does align with and I don't want to get too specific because it's enclosed, but it does align with some of our forthcoming strategic priorities, I think it's worth exploring. So I'll be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Just before there's any more discussion, Kevin, the motion is fairly clear for staff to bring back. Is there anything more you need from council on what?
No, so through your worship, the only thing I was going to add is we are currently working on a revamp of these policies. As you're aware, EDS Group, who did our Parks and Rec master plan, was in, and we had anticipated these requests. And so we were starting to revamp, because we had heard that maybe, these fees and charges and policies maybe weren't as aligned as maybe they once were. So that would be my only caution, is I think we can certainly accommodate some of these users if we wish, that we've heard from today. What I don't want is to preemptively develop policy when we've got somebody working on policy. So I think, but this is really good conversation and dialogue, because it feeds into the policy development that they're working on. And we'll certainly have EDS watch the video and take what what we've heard here today and as part of that. So it certainly will help guide them. And so that was the only thing, is if council wishes to make some changes, at least in the immediate, I think we can accommodate that in some fashion, but I don't want to do a whole bunch of work when we've already got somebody doing work on that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonald?
Sorry, through your worship, Aaron, I just wanted a clarification. When you were discussing minor ball, is that minor baseball or minor softball? Is there minor softball in town?
Through your worship, it's just minor softball is all we have here.
There is baseball.
There
My
is
child
baseball?
plays it.
Oh, sorry, then yes, there's only the one.
Only
group.
baseball, because
Only
they
baseball.
rent different fields.
Yeah.
Right, they rent the fields at Kin Park, not the fields down at the Ball Diamonds.
Through your worship, they rent them all. So down in Kin Park as well as Harry Morrow.
Yeah, they use them all,
They-
Councillor
Do
McDonald.
they? Oh, because they told me they didn't use the ones, they didn't like to use the ones down at the Soccer Diamonds, because they're set up for ball and they're dangerous with those turf, batter boxes, everything.
Through your worship, so they have used them all in the past just because of how many kids are on there. So it's basically, there wasn't enough time in the Kin Park fields for them to get everybody to play.
Okay.
So that's, so they've used them all.
Okay.
Thank you. I just had one comment. I think it was pretty clear, but I just had a thought when I was going through this, and then all these other, organizations that are requesting things, but maybe just something to look at when we're reviewing the policy is I don't know if there's a way to do like a tiered system where there has to be a commitment on their side. Like if you do, baseball, for example, if you do one tournament a year, you pay 100%. If you do two, you pay 75%. If you pay three, so that there is a win to our community, and we're not just opening the gates up, but we'll give you 50%, but you have to commit to 4 tournaments. Then at least there's, some ownership on that side. But it was just one of my thoughts that I ran through, is it's like, okay, you want this, but how do we make, incentivize it? How do we make it part of? And same with hockey, right? Like it could be, we'll do this, but each one of your divisions needs to have a tournament to meet your requirement for our, for what we're doing, because, like baseball, and it's an important part of our community, and there's, 400 people that use them, and, but there's 12,000 taxpayers, right? So we got to make it work for everybody. So that was just a thought that I had. So I just thought I'd throw that out there to Kevin, to you, and to staff, just for something to look at. So, but if there's no more discussion on this motion, and you're clear, Kevin, I guess, you don't need any more? No? Okay. All right. I'll call this to vote.
You look impressed,
Vote is closed, and it's carried. Thank you. Thanks, ladies. Next, 7.2, we have email from Pauline Laidman, Administrative Assistant, Village of Pouce-Coupe, emailed on April 28th, 2023, regarding an invitation to enter a float in the Canada Day Parade. I guess before there's a motion, if council is in support of doing this, do we have a policy in place for when we're doing parades and floats? Like no? So would you need more, like if council, I don't know which way it's going, but if council is to want to do this, do you need more direction than that?
So through your worship, I guess we just want to be clear on what the expectation is, because we can, as parades go and floats go, you can go from very simple to elaborate. So I think, yeah, we would need a bit of a expectation, just to give staff some direction on, so they don't fall short or go way over the top.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there somebody that would like to?
I'll just throw a softball out there for us to discuss.
A motion, softball? Please, Councillor McDonald.
I'd like to make a motion that the city of Dawson Creek attend the Pooskoopi Canada Day celebration with a float budget. Should I say budget? A float budget to not exceed $750.
Do I have a second? Or Councillor Sudnick?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to discuss that? Oh, Councillor Earl?
So I guess I would offer a friendly amendment that the $750 be taken out of the grant budget, if we're gonna add it on there. And secondly, this is the first time we're receiving, through you to staff, your worship, sorry, this is the first time we're receiving this invite. We haven't done this parade in previous years, have we?
So through your worship, I believe the previous mayors have attended and may have taken or gotten vehicles from dealerships and, been in the
Okay.
parade. I don't, in recent times, we
As
haven't
a city, we
decorated.
haven't, just as
That's correct.
elected officials
Yes.
individually. Because it was, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, it's my understanding, usually the city of Dawson Creek steps back from this and but allows Pooskoopi unfettered, because we have the fall fair and we have a parade. We don't want to be stealing anyone's thunder but I guess that was prior to being explicitly invited.
So through your worship, one question staff would have is, who will be in or on the float? Is that going to be elected officials, or is it expected that staff will do that?
Thank you. Well, we'll answer that. I guess usually I wait to share till the end, but I'll just jump in a little bit here. One thing for me is why I believe that we should support this is we're about relationships and moving forward. And, we've been to some events with, Poosa's leadership, and, I really feel like we're on the right steps to build those relationships. And so I think, at least it shows, the support. Also, Poosa's 10 or 15 minutes away and has a lot of Dawson Creek residents at it as well. So there's, it is a bit about, the whole thing. But that's why I'm in support of it. And I mean, I know that we have an economic development budget that we could probably take this out of versus a grant budget, because I don't think, I'm not, I don't think we've spent anything out of that budget this year, or very minimal. But I don't think $750, I think we might need to remove that number because, for the parade that we're doing in Dawson Creek, I don't, like $750 doesn't go that far.
No, it was just a number.
So that's just my thoughts is, you start getting candy and things to give to kids, like it doesn't go that far, but just my 2 cents. So Councillor Parslow?
Well, Councillor McDonald did lob a very soft ball there. So my reflections, when Councillor McDonald made this motion, I made an assumption that the 750 would be for materials, not for staff time. So that's a correct assumption,
Yes, 100%.
right? Okay. And the question was, is this, if we do, and I do agree with the mayor, as I usually do,
This is being recorded, right?
about participating in the Poos Parade. I think there's very good points he made there. But the question is if we surely if we develop a float for the Poos Parade, we would be using the same float in our own parade, would we not? And therefore, $750 in candies could easily be sufficient, but not for materials. So I would encourage participation, a float, but just do the float that you would have for the parade and use that at the Poos Parade as well. That's my thoughts.
Councillor McDonald?
My question was, what is our level of participation in the Fall Fair Parade right now?
So through your worship, we have put a float in previous years. Talking with Devin here too is we always have some city equipment that goes in, some by necessity to clean up at the tail end of the parade, but we're also talking about maybe decorating them up in a little bit of a theme as well, seeing they're going to be in there. So engaging a little bit more of our city equipment in that parade, so getting a little more involvement, which I think is great, sends a great message. But I would say that our float has been modest, to this point.
Okay, Councillor Earl?
Well, I appreciate Councillor Parslow's suggestion of using the same float, but having done the float several years in a row, first through the event center and then through the credit union, I know particularly in a windy region of the province, keeping that float together for the 5 weeks between Canada Day and the Fall Fair Parade is going to be a heck of a trick. Not only that, but I assume that equipment is potentially going to be used for something else. Okay. Anyone?
Sorry. Charlie's not looking at me, so.
And sorry, I just wanted to be clear. $750 would only be for the Poos Parade. Again, having experience with the local parade here, candy-wise, I know we spend that much in candy just to hand out at our local parade. You would have to have a separate budget for the Fall Fair Parade. That was only for a Poos Koopy parade.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
In response to Councillor Earl's concern about the destruction of the float by weather, in my head, I would be storing the float in the Ovintiv Centre, which for the duration, and it would be maybe some mild ventilation circulation, but I'm sure the float would be able to withstand that.
We also have some empty arenas that if we could store it in one of the
place as well.
Yeah. I just, to throw something out there, I don't know if we can, maybe call this motion, but the letter is asking for a response if we're interested in attending. So I think we could maybe say, it sounds like we are interested. So maybe we could call this motion to vote, have another one responding to this letter saying, yes, we're interested. And then make another one, maybe having, staff and council or staff and myself come up with what we think could be the float and what the cost could be. I don't know if everybody's might be cleaner. Okay, I'll call this motion to vote.
Through your worship, the current motion is to attend it and with a budget not to exceed $750.
Okay. Yeah, so it'd defeat it and then, okay. I will call this motion to vote. Thank you for the motion. It got the conversation going. It was great.
Right, I put it on softball. Fouled off.
It's closed and it's defeated 6-1. Councillor Apollonia was in favor.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that.
Faithful to the last.
True loyalty. I appreciate it.
Can they revoke that?
It's fine. It was defeated. Councillor Apollonia was maybe mistakenly in favor of that, but it was defeated. Okay, so new motion. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make a motion that we respond to the letter received from the Village of Pooskoopi that we are interested in attending their Canada Day parade as the city of Dawson Creek.
Second, Councillor Sudnick. I will call, discussion? No, I will call this vote when. Okay, this is. Yeah, that will end, yeah. Respond to to Pooskoopi that we're interested in attending. Okay, I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried.
So then we need a further motion directing you?
Yeah, I mean, I could throw it out there for you to make a motion, but yeah, directing myself, I threw my name saying I would, but myself and staff, or me and Devin, I don't know if there's been some conversation already, but.
Just yourself and staff.
Okay. 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 Councillor McDonald?
So I'd like to make a motion for Mayor Dober to work with staff to come up with an idea and parameters for a parade float for the Pooskoopi Parade.
And budget.
And budget. Parameters and budget.
Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick? Any discussion?
It better be awesome.
Oh, no. I had some pressure last week from Councillor McDonald eating cookies, and now I'm getting it about a float. Brenda, are we good? Okay, I will call this motion to vote. The vote is closed. It's carried. All right, I am going to break for lunch.
What time are you reconvening?
I think 30 minutes, 12:35.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a bit of a schedule, so. A revitalization tax exemption bylaw. I guess, Kevin, maybe just before there's something that comes forward here, did you want to, I know our strategic planning isn't public yet, but there's some of that in there, but is there something like you'd like to add to this before we deal with it?
Yeah, so through your worship, I would concur that it appears that the strategic plan that we're working on, this would certainly fit into that regarding the downtown. But it will take a fair bit of research and whatnot to come back with, and just for staff to wrap their mind around. If this is something the council wants to pursue, definitely need to take it away, do some work on it, and come back to council with some pros and cons, I guess, report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Yes, I was thinking that this should be analyzed by our finance officer with the full report by the end of May. Fully researched where this has worked and where it hasn't. So I'd like to make a motion with that. No, I'm only.
Do I have a second?
I'm only. I would do
Yes.
many things to bug you, Terry, but that's too serious. I'd like to make a motion that we receive this with appreciation, and that we will, when time permits, staff will review and analyze it for our consideration.
Okay, second. Councillor Earl. Kevin, is that clear?
So through your worship, what I'm hearing is that you'd like a report back from staff at some point into the future regarding this matter.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Well, and I think too, like once we've dealt with what we did this morning, then we can have that conversation with them and, yeah. So, Councillor Earl?
Yeah, it was my interpretation of it too, is this is part of a bigger conversation that we've already committed to through our strategic planning. So when it's appropriate for staff and us to revisit this, it's something we'll certainly give some consideration to.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow, did you want to add to that, or were you?
Well, yes, But just a word so that everybody's in the know. I did spend some time talking to Duncan Malkinson this morning, early morning. And I asked if he had any evidence or any examples of where this had been developed and applied, and what results had been obtained, right? And certainly there are a number of municipalities in the north who have this, but whether it's had any impact, he couldn't say. But I do believe it's something we should investigate. But if you got opportunities this week of talking to people from Williams. Is Williams Lake? Yes, Williams Lake's here. Smithers, Houston, where they've adopted this. See what fellow councillors have to say about it. It's a good opportunity to bounce it off some people. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. All right, if there's no more discussion, I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next order of business is 8 reports. We have 8.1 report number 23-066 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding actual to budget variance report for period ending March 31st, 2023. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that report number 23-066 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding actual to budget variance report for period ending March 31st, 2023 be received for information.
Do I have a second? Councillor Apollonio? Any discussion on receiving for information? No? All right, I will call this to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have report number 23-068 from the corporate officer regarding 2023 policy review. So we have 5 different recommendations here. Councillor Parslow.
I move recommendation number 1, that report number 23-068 from the corporate officer, the 2023 policy review be received. Further, the 4 policies identified for review in the May 28th, 2023 meeting be considered individually.
Second, Councillor Kemp. Discussion. I'll call this to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move recommendation number 2, that staff be directed to revise the wording within the Consumer Price Index policy to clarify the policy applies to agreements where fees are payable to the city and that it does not apply to contracts where the city pays a contractor for services.
I have a second. Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? No? All right, I will call this to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move recommendation number 3, that staff be directed to review the funding levels within the purchasing policy as well as the requirement for the CAO to approve certain funding levels with consideration that all purchasing is completed within the levels previously approved by council in the annual budget. And that increasing funding levels would make purchasing practices more efficient by removing the additional time required to obtain approvals of both staff and council.
I have a second. Councillor Apollonio. Any discussion? Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, I would like some explanation of this. I'm a little, I find it rather nebulous. Could somebody explain it in more specific language?
I can explain where I was coming from when I put it forward, but I was reviewing all of the, all of the procedure bylaw manual, and I was going through this one, and when I was going through this one, it just seemed to be a little bit like messy on who approved and who didn't approve, and some of it, to me, didn't have the CAO's touch on it, and I know that some of it's within budget, but I was like, if we're spending a couple $100,000, just in my mind, I was like, you'd think the CAO would know, which he does. But so it was just more about like making that policy a little clearer on how it's meant to be, because to me, I was a little bit confused by the whole way it was. So to me, it was about bringing this to staff to come back with something that's, works a little bit better for them and us and is a little clearer. So that's kind of why I run it forward.
Aiming for transparency.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we're approving a budget up front, and it gets brought to council when things go over the budget. And, but I just, not that I don't trust staff, because I do. Like, we have a great team with the city, but to me, I was a little confused, like, we approved that without the CAO knowing. But he knows clearly, so it's just about having it in there. So that's why.
Yeah, so just to illustrate my confusion, right, about this, is, again, it's to what level. So my understanding, once a budget has been approved, okay, certainly the budget is put into groupings. So Devon might have, let's say, 20 accounts. They total 10 million. If some go over, he can go over, as provided that the bottom line of all of them is not exceeded. That's the modus operandi right now. Is this motion saying that each line item, if it goes over, must go through some other process? So that's why I wondered what the necessity was, okay? I just still don't understand, really.
Well, maybe I'll let staff explain it better, but to me, this is a purchasing policy, so it's not about like...
Good point.
It's not about sending things out, it's about purchasing items and things. It wasn't about anything more than that, but I was just, yeah. So Kevin,
Yeah, so through your worship, Councillor Parcel, what he mentioned there is generally correct, is that we work within an envelope.
That's
and we manage within, and there's going to be, especially in the operational side, is we're going to have codes that go over because of snow events or water breaks, and we're going to have to manage that envelope. So overall, we don't exceed that. Capital, again, if we've got 5 road projects lumped together, we try and manage within that overall budget. If we need to exceed that envelope, then of course we need to come back to council and get approvals for such process. Terry and I were talking that the purchasing policy is probably due for a bit of a fresh up. There's some things that we could do there too, like certain thresholds and things where we could expedite process a bit, because just the levels that we need to get go to public tender and those sorts of things, you should revisit them, make sure that they're still relevant, so that it doesn't, we want to make sure we're transparent, but we want to make sure that we're efficient at the same time. Because if we're going to tender for items that we don't need to, that's a lot of process for admin, for our procurement officer, for all the staff involved, and it ends up taking weeks and weeks sometimes, especially this time of year when it's busy. So there's opportunities to make things a little more efficient, so to review it. So I think we could do that, and that would really encapsulate what the mayor's getting at here, is just to make sure that it's current and it's transparent and holds everybody accountable at the appropriate appropriate levels.
Yeah, and some of those thresholds might need to change because obviously the economics have changed in the last while. But I think one thing too, just when you're revisiting, I don't know if you can add this in there and, but I think like our purchasing policy, when we are purchasing things or getting quotes, like there's got to be a local part to it, or I don't know if there can be, but I mean, if we're buying, you know, something from a company, like is it?
So through your worship, I mean, we're bound by law, and
Okay.
you can't have a local favorite. There is something called social procurement, which is a whole nother realm that we haven't got into, that would start to take into account the valuation of things that maybe a local person would provide to the community. And I haven't had a lot of experience with it, but generally in tendering law, you can't place
A favorite.
favorites or that element of local onto it. So it is a bit tricky.
So if you're, and this is probably going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but if you're like, for example, looking at replacing a vehicle, you know, to me, we have 4 or 5 dealerships in Dawson Creek. It would be crazy to go to another market and get a quote.
Well, through your worship, we don't go seeking quotes from another market. We advertise, we're looking for a pickup.
Oh, okay. And
Other
then,
markets bid.
Okay.
And I would agree, it would be crazy that the local dealers wouldn't be the cheapest.
Yeah. Okay.
But sometimes they're not.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? No, I will call this to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move recommendation number 4, that staff be directed to revise the wording in the reimbursement of expenses policy with regards to the per diem, to amend the $75 per diem to apply only to travel beyond the South Peace area of Chetwynd, Tumbler Ridge, and Pouce Coupe. Further, that the expense statement be removed from the policy as this is an operational form.
I have a second. Councillor Apollonio. Discussion? No? All right, I will call this to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move recommendation number 5, that 25% of the annual Peace River Agreement grant be set aside to fund designated capital replacement projects listed in the city's capital asset management plan. Note the rationale for the Peace River Agreement policy was submitted by Councillor Parcels is attached to this report for Council's review.
Do I have a second? Councillor Apollonio. Discussion? I guess the only thing I would have here is like I completely agree with this motion and I think it's good, but we do have to identify what those projects are, right? So if we're going to put 25% away of the annual Peace River Regional Agreement, it can't just be to a capital fund. It's got to be to specific items, right?
So through your worship, with my conversations with the province, not necessarily. Their threshold is 3 years of the PRA. So for the city, it would be roughly $48 million. So they would prefer to not have you save up a 3-year reserve. But if you did have a big project, then you would just let them know. But if it's for replacing asset infrastructure, they are okay with it up to the threshold. As soon as you surpass that threshold, though, then it wouldn't be plausible.
Thank you, Terry. Councillor McDonald?
Yeah, I fully agree with this motion and moving forward to it, but I'm wondering what that does to our current budget moving forward. And previous council had us on a path to get to 70-30 by 2030. So do we need to ratio, if we're going to move to this as a 60-25-15, do we have to set ratios for moving forward to that? Or, you know, what does that overall look like?
Terry?
So through your worship, yeah, that is also my concern. As much as this is a fantastic idea and great, moving to 70-30 by 2030 is still a benchmark we're trying to achieve. So by putting 25% of the PRA now away into a reserve, that's essentially right now at this point in time would mean that you just have to reduce capital spending by that amount.
Yeah.
By, over $4 million, $4.2 million, and it goes up every year. But right now, that's what would have to happen, because we can't take, $4 million out of the operating budget and hope that we can cover it. So essentially, for 2024, if this was in effect, it would just mean that much less going to capital. So you'd have to definitely prioritize capital maintenance. What's the most important?
So maybe it would be good to have this tiered over the next bit to get to that.
For sure, because to go straight to 25% would be difficult. Again, I'm not 100% sure on the prioritization of the capital projects for all the facilities, but if I was to guess, I know that the city has been putting off stuff that will need to be done. So it definitely, it's a fantastic idea, and for sure the city can get to it. It's just a matter of when it could be 25%.
So would it be easier for staff if something like this was to come? Because I know the asset management plan is not, we won't have that till 2024.
Yeah, early.
And understand that. So would that be something that we would direct staff at that point to come, that we want this to be part of it, and how we get to that too, or what?
That would be a good idea.
Okay. All right. Councillor Earl?
Yeah, I was going to make a similar point. I think, a lot of these assumptions are contingent upon the tangible asset management plan that we're going to be seeing, I thought later this year, but apparently early next year. Similarly, with respect to our ability to save up to 3 years of PRA money, and if we ever get to having that problem, I think it'll be a great problem to have. But would the ministry not be, amenable to a conversation if our tangible capital asset management plan comes back and says we need $400 million over 50 years, that $48 million saved up is a drop in the bucket. Are they really going to clamp down on us if we can demonstrate that this is actually what our need is? Or, I assume they're reasonable people and they're not just doing it based off an arbitrary calculation.
Terry?
So through your worship, I honestly don't know. The PRA was given to maintain city infrastructure for the use of oil and gas. So it's meant to be spent on capital yearly. So I know that the province isn't super happy about just putting it in reserves. But I feel that the majority of municipalities are somewhat in the same boat as the city is of Dawson Creek, for the simple fact that asset management wasn't at the forefront 10 years ago, but now it is at the forefront. So a lot of municipalities are finding themselves in this boat where they're doing their plans and they're coming up with, hey, we're going to need $400 million, in the next 60 years, and it's not possible to have that, because it's never been at the forefront. So I honestly can't say if the province would be okay with that.
Okay.
But I know that they've told me multiple times, threshold is 3 years.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
I guess one other thing too to add, just if we were to do this and approve 25%, we've also approved borrowing $5 million a year for paving, and in my eyes, I would not want to save 25%. I'd rather use it for the paving the next couple of years, or portions of it, than borrow more money, would be my thoughts. But anyways, Councillor Parslow.
Well, first, some good points have been raised. Appreciate that. This obviously cannot be applied this year. The budget is completed.
Yeah.
and this is a policy. Certainly, the insertion of possibly a statement that by 2030 would certainly be, I think, a good amendment to this, that we try to establish these percentages by 2030. The things that I don't want to happen, I mean, just for the sake of, I think, all of you, I keep looking over sometimes to my colleague Jeremy, because he's been on 2 terms, but this is way back. Councillor McFadden, Terry McFadden, and I went to a UBCM in, I'm guessing it was 2012. It might have been 2013. That's not a material difference. And we went to a fascinating workshop on capital asset management, a presentation on the Australian system, which had been adopted by a number of major municipalities in BC. We talked about it, brought it back to council, said this is the direction we should go, and then other things and the slow churning out. But this whole idea started by something that Terry said about the 70-30, that our current debt load is about 15% of our PRA. So then I thought, so wow, so we plan on doubling our debt, 70-30, right? That would mean we're going to double our debt. That's a crazy idea. The other thing is, I don't want us to have a capital asset management plan, spend all that money, and then not be able to do anything. What's the point? We may as well just be ostriches and pretend capital asset management isn't a necessity. We need to fund it. So I thought the whole paradigm of 70-30 needed to be upturned, because I'm sure council wasn't planning on doubling its debt. We do have some debt coming off, paid off in 2027, which would give us a bit of room. But the other thing is, I do know some of our partners, regional district partners, are saving money to finance the replacement for a fire hall. And they've got it all there, and we had a presentation on why the fire hall needed to be replaced. We all accepted that. So combining the 30% statement around debt and that, I thought, well, gee, this is an opportunity. But I certainly had no intention of saying, this is a policy. Policies can be amended by resolution. So I think putting a sort of a by 2030 as an aspirational policy would give guidance to the system. I think we know that we are beginning to put money away for some of these big projects. I immediately think of not only the fire hall, but I also think about public works, but there may be other things. City Hall, possibly, yeah. So there's going to be plenty of need for this money. And I think whilst we have PRA, let's use it for the well-being of our community in the future. And we go from there. So I would, I didn't move a second. I'd like to make an amendment.
Okay,
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that we add 2030.
So I'd like to have as a preliminary statement, by 2030, inserted at the beginning of this proposed policy.
Who was second? Or who was Councillor Earl? Does it have to be the same seconder? No, okay. Does that work for staff? Like, do we also need something in there that maybe would bring a report back at the time of the asset management plan on how this would work too, or would that? Or is this fine just the way that is?
So through your worship, I think this is good for now.
Okay.
I think when we come back with the asset management policy, we're gonna have a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
Because it's gonna paint the picture and the challenges ahead and
Yeah.
that'll, we anticipate it, but I think once we have the numbers, it'll be much clearer.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. All right, I will call, if there's no more discussion, I'll call the motion amendment to vote. Oh, sorry, Brenda. I'm testing your ability by throwing all different things at you right now. And you're amazing. Okay, so I will call that to vote. Vote is closed. And that was carried, so I will also call the motion as amended to vote. Vote is closed. Now it's carried. All right. Next order of business is 8.3. We have report number 23-069 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the 2022 audited financial statements. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move a recommendation that report number 23-069 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2022 audit financial statements be received. Further, that the 2022 audit financial statements be approved as presented.
Second. Councillor Apollonio, any discussion? All right, I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next order of business is 9 bylaws. We have 9.1 tax rate bylaw number 4554, 2023 for consideration of adoption. Got a motion to adopt. Councillor Earl, second Councillor Kemp. I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 9.2 Parks Amendment Bylaw number 4555, 2023 for consideration of adoption. Councillor Kemp, second. Councillor McDonald, I will call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. All in favor? Okay. It flashed quickly. Thank you. 9.3, our next order of business 9.3, report number 23-067 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding Equipment Pool Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 4556, 2023. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 23-067 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding Equipment Pool Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 4556, 2023 be received. Further, that Equipment Pool Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 4556, 2023 be given first 3 readings.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald. I did not forget your name. Any discussion? No, I will call this to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next order of business, 9.4, we have report number 23-072 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding City of Dawson Creek repeal bylaw number 4557, 2023. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that report number 23-072 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding City of Dawson Creek repeal bylaw number 4557, 2023 be received. Further, that City of Dawson Creek repeal bylaw number 4557, 2023 be given first 3 readings.
Second. Counselor Apollonio, any discussion? I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Next order of business, 9.5, we have report number 23-071 from the Recreation Manager regarding fees and charges amendment bylaw number 458, 2023. Councillor Apollonio?
I receive a recommendation that report number 23-071 from the Recreation Manager regarding fees and charges amendment by law number 4558, 2023 be received. Further, that fees and charges amendment by law number 4558, 2023 be given first three readings.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councillor McDonald, any discussion? No. I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Next order of business is 10, Mayor's Business. 10.1, we have the Mayor's update. Got a bit here, so I'll try and be fairly quick. First, the day of mourning. So we had a day of mourning celebration. I think it was 2 Fridays ago. It was just about mourning and honoring those that have, lost their lives while working. So there was a great, little ceremony on the front lawn at the city. There was quite a few people, probably 100 or so. City staff did a great job organizing it. There was some statistics that I just wanted to cover a little bit, but it was actually pretty concerning to me when you look at the report, because you feel in today's world that all businesses and employers are all about safety, and it's a big thing. But if you look at the amount of deaths in British Columbia over the last 5 years since 2018, it's went from, in 2018 it was 131 deaths to 2022 was 181. So it was pretty eye-opening to me to see this, and lots of the deaths are from diseases and viruses that were obtained 30, 40 years ago, which we have the knowledge about now, but yeah, it was still pretty concerning. And then the other concerning part is British Columbia, or Peace River, the Peace region, I think was second or third in the list. So, it was pretty eye-opening. So it was, I think it's just important to get this information out and, for people to realize that, this is real stuff. As much pressure as there is when you're working in any environment, you need to take your time and do it properly, and because people's lives are at risk. And so it'd be nice to see that number start going back the other way. But anyways, it was a nice ceremony. And afterwards, the staff did a barbecue next door. So there was quite a few the city employees and and some local residents that were there that ate. So I just wanted to give a thank you out to the city staff, and yeah, they were all in there cooking and making salads, and there was some pretty amazing stuff made. So that was good. So thank you. Second, the Wishbone Day. I touched a little bit on that earlier, just why we're wearing yellow today. But I had the pleasure last week of meeting with Hayden Fontaine that came in, and he came in, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday morning, but we did the declaration for him while he was here and got a picture with him and gave him a little tour of the city and got to visit with him. I know his family fairly well, and I haven't really met him or had a conversation with him, but pretty inspiring boy that's in grade 4, and it was born with this illness that affects his bones and growth, and I think by 5 years old, he had 9 or 10 different surgeries from breaking bones by just doing activities that a normal 3 or 4 or 2-year-old would do, like by kicking a soccer ball or, just having fun. So, but, it was just nice to visit with him and spoil him a little bit and learn a little bit more about it. I didn't know, but 1 in 15,000 children have this and they're born with it. So And then also, the city of Dawson Creek has been doing this for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, I think. But also by that, the city of Dawson Creek doing this and recognizing it, it actually brought out another child in Dawson Creek that also has the same symptoms. So they were very thankful that it's brought that awareness, because they now have another family that they can communicate with in the city. And they said that's a big part of what they focus on, is their network of families across Canada, in the world really, that they get to communicate with, and how they dealt with things and how they do with things. So, Hayden's an amazing little boy, and he travels down once every 6 months to the Children's Hospital. They have it's not curable, but it's treatable. So he goes down every 6 months for treatment. So it was just amazing. And then today was the actual day, so they're honoring it today. So they wanted to come in last week and do the declaration, so it was great. So, and I will invite Hayden back here as much as I can, because it was amazing. So, next, Northern Lights College International Students Welcome. So I got. I don't know, the last couple of weeks was busy. I can't remember when it was, a couple of weeks ago, but I got to go to the Northern Lights College. They were doing an orientation for their international students. So they have 3 intakes a year, one in May, one in September, one in January. So this was the first one I got to be part of, but absolutely amazing. Like I think there was 67 to 80 students that were all international students that all arrived in Dawson Creek within like a 24-hour span, so from their countries, from all over the world. It wasn't just from one country. There was 5 or 6 at least different countries and that these people came from. So it was amazing. I got to go there. I talked a lot about like what Dawson Creek and the region has to offer. And it was just a real inspiring orientation. Got to do it with Todd, also from the college. So it was just great, and I really look forward to being part of all of them when they do them in September and January. It's it was just nice to touch on all the things Dawson Creek has to offer, and we made a pretty big list, and probably spent 10 minutes going through all of that. It wasn't just about Dawson Creek; it was about Tumbler Ridge, Chetwynd, and the whole region, what there is to offer. So that was great, and they. It was very well perceived, and I personally really enjoyed it, welcoming them on behalf of all of us. Next Chamber of Commerce meeting, I had a meeting with Duncan Melkinson, and then Gaudette from Happy Hobbit downtown, just about their vision of downtown, and starting to really open up the dialogue between the city and that communication. So I met with them a couple Fridays ago. Just kind of had an hour conversation. They've had a meeting already, so they just brought some points to me on things that they'd like to see. There was a motion brought forward earlier that was a little different than that meeting, but it was just great to see that they're thinking about different ideas, and they had some ideas just about there's a lot of issues and stuff going on downtown right now, and people are closing things up and trying to adapt to it. But they had some very thinking outside the box ideas about let's put flowers outside, and let's put tables and chairs out, and let's make it more inviting downtown instead of closing it up and adapting for a few. So it was nice to see, and really hopeful that it'll grow, and so to share that. Next, Nawakan update. Kevin and myself had a meeting with Jana. I think that was last week too. Just more of an update on Nawakan and what they're working on. So it was great. Nawakan does a lot of amazing things in our community, and a lot of things that go unnoticed. So it was just really great to meet, actually, and just really be brought up to speed on what they're doing and working on, and just to continue to build that relationship and let her know that we're there to work together. And I know Jana and the Nawakan, not just Jana, but the whole Nawakan, has had a lot of conversations with our city staff, Kevin and Bill, and a lot of the staff. And there's a lot of moving wheels, and it's good. The relationship seems very strong. So it was nice to for that. Yeah. Next, the Red Dress Day. I was just going to have Councillor McDonald or Councillor McDonald. Both Councillor McDonald and Councillor Kemp attended on Friday. There was an event, so I was just going to have them share on it. So,
Thank you, Worship. So myself and Councillor Kemp actually ran into each other at the gathering for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and the Two-Spirit. It was a very emotional walk and march we had across the city. It was very well attended, hosted by Jan and Jenna from the Nobkin. I guess Caitlin Treble was one of the true organizers of the event. Was an amazing event, a great learning event. I was able to have my family instructed about just the many different parts of the indigenous going-ons, right? Whether it was the smudging or the red dress or anything like that. It was a great walk, and I was very proud to have my daughters march with me in recognition of it.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the update and thanks for attending, and yeah, a huge thank you to Nowickin and the organization for this. Next, the Moose Hide Day. I just want to touch a little bit on that just as it's coming up. So May 11th is the official day for the Moose Hide campaign, and what that is the Moose campaign is a grassroots movement of Indigenous and non-Indigenous men and boys who are standing up against violence towards women and children. So when you see that people wearing like the little moose hide leather patches, that's what it is. But I just wanted to touch on it as it's the annual day is May 11th this year, so it's coming up this week. Next, Treaty 8 banner update. So just give a little bit of an update on the banners that we were talking about. So we met with Dale, I'm just going to keep saying last week, but we met with Dale and I just got a bit of an update where that was at. It was brought to the Treaty 8 Council, our idea on, inviting, the banners having, a Treaty 8 logo on there, just inviting them and welcoming into our community. So staff has taken it back to the designing team a little bit, and they're going to come up with a couple drawings that might work, and then they have another meeting in June, so we'll have a little bit better understanding where it's going after June. So I just wanted to give an update on that. Barbara Knowles, I went up to her place on Friday. She's a local resident in Dawson Creek who has a lot of, artifacts and history, things with the Eskimos to, all sorts of information on the Alaska Highway. It was pretty impressive, actually, the collection she has. So she just wanted to show it to me. I mean, she's looking at, passing it on to somebody one day and would love to see a museum and showcase it. But for me up there, it was just more to, she asked if I would go, and I said I'd love to, and it was really great to learn, actually. It was very educational. I spent a couple hours up there, actually, and Duncan from the Chamber of Commerce joined me as well, which was nice. So, it was amazing. So I just wanted to thank her for the time, and it's pretty impressive. If anybody gets the opportunity to, I would. Next, I had a meeting with Adam Rawlick from Ovintiv Community Relations. It was just kind of an initial meeting, just to meet with them, thank them for obviously they do a lot in our community, very active in our community, and went through some of the things they're working on, but more so just to kind of, another one of those relationship devices, just about building those relationships and getting to know everybody. So that was good. Smile cookie eating competition. I know Kevin had a real big speech planned for this one because we had a little smile cookie competition last week against the city staff. So Kevin, he was pretty upset the rest of the week. It was, I didn't know why, but then I clued in that he didn't like losing. So, but no, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Kyle and Jillian from Tim Hortons. Obviously, Kyle, Councillor McDonald sits up here as well, but I just wanted to give a huge shout out for what they do in our community, not only through this, but for everything they do in our community to give back and to make our community a better place in every area. And I've got to know both of them fairly well over the last while, and they truly are ambassadors to our city. And they do this every day just to give back to make us, a better place. It's not about financial gain or anything else. It's just truly to help. So Dawson Creek is honored to have, both you and your wife and your family here. And you guys do such amazing things. But the Smile Cookie, contest, I know it's Tim Hortons wide, but it doesn't, what you guys do here, it's, I know it's been recognized nationwide on that. And, and also a shout out to the Hospital Foundation for all their efforts in it, and to the leadership at the city for joining us last Tuesday on a little cookie eating contest. Yeah, I had nightmares for a couple days because Councillor McDonald was yelling at me. And, Councillor Parslow, he really got to enjoy his cookie. It was just an amazing event, amazing team building, and just a huge thank you again, Kyle, and to your wife. So, thank you.
I just wanted to make it a competition.
You did.
And I need to hurry up.
Yeah. Well, Councillor McDonald, did you want to? Oh.
Yeah, I just wanted, thank you for those very kind words. Jillian and I do truly love this community, and truly, last 10 years, it's been wonderful to be a part of it. And I'd just like to say thank you to the staff and the rest of council for coming out and participating with me. I know we had a lot of fun last Wednesday in our cookie eating challenge, and hopefully next year, Kevin, you can get more of an A team instead of a B team. But
Brenda will be retired.
In all seriousness, as far as Smile Cookie goes, we have an amazing community that supports our hospital foundation. They come out in droves. Through wonderful partnerships, we were able to make sure that every student in School District 59 receives a cookie. Students from Tumbler Ridge, Pooskoopie, Chetwynd, the rural schools, the colony schools. It doesn't matter if you're a registered student of School District 59 or registered to any school in School District 59, you receive a Smile Cookie, right? The Smiles for Students is true to my heart, and I could not list all the partnerships we have. I will on Facebook later, but truly a huge heartfelt thank you to everyone in this community that helps support this. In the last 10 years, we have been able to donate over $125,000 to our local Dawson Creek and District Hospital Foundation, and we could not do it alone. We do it through partnerships with an amazing community, and just thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next on my list, more Smile Cookies. On Friday, I got to, I avoided eating cookies on this one actually, but I got the opportunity to go hang out at South Peace with the high school for an hour, and brought cookies for all of them. So it was just kind of nice to hang out. There was a bunch of contests going on in the cafeteria, and just an amazing event. And just to throw this out, if anybody's watching too, that wasn't a city-funded thing. City didn't buy the cookies. It was done outside of that. I just went as the mayor and hung out with the students, so it was cool. It was great just to see, and it was pretty funny, so yeah. And then next, leaders table. So last week again, I had a leaders table. So this was just a meeting kind of put on by ex-mayor Dale Bumstead, but what he's doing now is he works with some of the nations, the treaty nations. So this was a meeting with all mayors and chiefs and regional district representatives from pretty much the whole Peace Country, North and South Peace. There was like 20-some people there. It was absolutely amazing. It was a full day of just going around a table, getting to know each other. We talked a lot about who we are as as people and as each organization and what we were about. So it was just great. It was educational. It was absolutely amazing to build those relationships, and just another step towards we're all in this together and working together as a region. There is a lot of, whether they're municipalities or, the bands, the councils, a lot of the same talk, that it's just about doing this together and we're in this together and working together. So, it was definitely worthwhile. It's potentially going to be quarterly that we'll be doing that. And so I think the next one is scheduled. Well, it's not scheduled yet, but I think it's going to be in July sometime. But yeah, very powerful meeting, and it was very open dialogue. It was great. So. All right, I'm out of breath on my mayor's updates, so I'm going to move on now to 10.2. I'm just going to open it up here. So 10.2, memo from Mayor Dober regarding reconsideration, Ministry of Housing request for inventory of municipal land. So at the April 11th, 2023 regular council meeting, council passed a motion to direct staff to prepare a City of Dawson Creek inventory list of potential available lands and provide it to the Ministry of Housing. Pursuant to do I need to read out the whole community charter, Brenda? Do I need to read out the community charter, or just that I'm reopening this for reconsideration? Okay, I just wanted to reopen this for reconsideration. So I don't need a motion, it's now on the floor. So for discussion, Councillor Parslow.
So this item, this motion's on the table now. Okay, so I'll reserve my comments until after we've defeated this.
Okay.
Right, we have to reaffirm or defeat, right?
Yeah, I'm just bringing this back up to reconsideration.
Right.
Okay. Any discussion on this? No? Oh, Councillor McDonald, sorry.
Thank you, Worship. As far as our discussion earlier about this and having dialogue with the province and Northern Health and those that are looking to put facilities in our community without our knowledge, I fear us closing the door.
Councillor McDonald, some of this was talked about in camera.
Oh.
So we need to be.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Very sorry. As far as this goes, I just want to make sure that we are keeping an open dialogue so that we can't shut the door on dialogue. I want us to have open dialogue with the province and Northern Health so that none of this, any facilities or anything that they're looking to put into our community just happens without our knowledge.
Thank you. Councillor Earl?
Yeah, Your Worship, thank you. I agree. I think while it's important to maintain a constructive dialogue, I think it's appropriate that that dialogue include an insistence upon a respect for certain protocols and avenues of communication to ensure that we're all pulling in the same direction and on the same page. I don't like surprises, and I think in reconsidering this particular motion, we have the opportunity to maybe push back a little bit and attach some conditions to our cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If there's no other discussion, I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. I think it was defeated 4-2. Okay. Okay.
Through your worship, would you be able to indicate who was opposed or who was in favor of that
Okay.
motion?
Who could raise their hand? Who was in favor? Councillor McDonald and Councillor Apollonio? Was yours my mistake? Okay, Councillor Apollonio made his by mistake, so should we redo the, we'll re-vote. Okay, so we'll recall the vote. So you can vote again. Okay. So vote is closed. It was quick too. So it's carried. It looked like 5-1.
It's me again.
Councillor McDonald, favor. Okay, thank you.
What did we do?
We defeated the motion.
Defeated it?
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So did I say approved?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I thought you were just trying to see if everyone was paying attention.
I was. Did it work? I was just keeping you on your toes, Councillor Parslow. Thank you. All right. Do we need another,
Well,
Councillor Parslow?
so on the same topic, right? Councillor Earl has stated what I think as well about we need to establish some conditions concerning communication and protocols with the provincial government before we release any information about our land.
So maybe a motion to send a letter back in response with that, saying that we would like to understand what you want this for?
That was my motion.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So just to help you, I would like to move.
Thank you.
That a letter be sent to the provincial government advising them that we require to establish some conditions and protocol concerning land use in our community before we will submit an inventory to them.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councillor Earl? Any discussion on that? No? I will just wait for Brenda to have it ready and then I will. Good. Okay, I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 10.3 memo from Mayor Dorber regarding South Peace Crime Prevention Association liaison. Letter from John Vetter, Director, South Peace District Crime Prevention Association, received on April 27th, 2023, regarding appointing a counselor liaison. Councillor Earl? Oh, sorry. There you go.
So are you looking for a motion to approve, because you've already gotten approval for it based on the last?
Yeah, I think that
it's just for our own information?
confirming.
Or just to affirm it? Okay, I'll move we receive for information. Thank you.
Thank you. Second, Councillor McDonald. Any discussion on receiving for information? No? I will call that motion to vote. And that's carried. Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, we have 10.4. We have the delegation from the request from Dawson Creek Minor Hockey Association and the Mile Zero Figure Skating Club to amend the ice allocation policy for the 2023-2024 season. And I think that was generally their ask would just be, obviously we're reviewing the ice policy and all of that this year, so they're just asking for 2023 and 2024 to be extended. So, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move that we do amend the ice allocation policy for the 2023-2024 season to have the season begin August 1st and go through August 30th, 2024.
April 30th.
April 30th, sorry, thank you.
That's 13 months.
Yeah. Just leave the ice.
Do I have a second? Second time, do I have a second? Or? Councillor Earl? Okay. All right. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor McDonald?
I can speak to that. A lot of what was said by our two delegates, I believe, is true. I can speak personally to the figure skating. Our figure skaters do miss out on competitions early season. They miss out on test days. Personal development for the skaters declines because they do not have the available ice throughout the year. On a personal note, I will be looking into taking my children outside of the region for figure skating for at least 2 weeks if this motion doesn't go through. And I know multiple figure skaters do. I know multiple hockey families travel for hockey camps and that, and I think it's a lost opportunity for our youth and our community to bring in outsiders for camps and test days, etc.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. So just to so it's an additional $80,000 in cost per month, but that is offset by approximately $20,000 to $25,000 anticipated in revenue? And that's per ice surface or per, okay, so in this case, it would be $55,000 just for Memorial because they're just asking for the one sheet of ice for August, correct?
So through your worship, they're looking for August and April. So that's 2 months. So there's roughly 160,000 in expenses, and like you say, 45 to 50 on the upside of revenue, which holds pretty true to the 30% cost recovery that we typically see. So.
Councillor Parslow.
So right now, this motion would put ice in at the Memorial Arena for 2 extra months, and it's so therefore, and there's no, what's to call it, no commitment required on how many hours of use would be put by the minor hockey or the figure skating group with the motion as it stands. In the past, they have committed to renting so many hours. Right now, it's so open-ended that you could get minimal use, let's say, during the rodeo week in August. So I can't support the motion because it's too open. There needs to be some guarantee. I'm also very uncomfortable incurring another significant expenditure to our operating budget with no equivalent cut in the rest of our budget. If this is considered to be the necessary thing, we should find the money by not adding to our budget, but by cutting something. And we should also have some guarantees from the two groups, which I'm sure you'd get, by the way, but I just think we should require it as to the minimum amount that they would guarantee renting the place. So I need answers to those two issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. I agree with a lot of what was said. The couple, yeah, I know it's tough because August 1st is like, a long weekend. Like, I don't know if
Rodeo week,
so I don't know if it's something that we could work with them on different dates. So 2 questions I had. One, they said that they currently go to mid-April. Was that, did I mishear that?
So through your worship, this year, the ice was in until, about the 12th or 13th of April, seems to me, when it went out in the Memorial.
So they still used it up till then?
Yeah, and this year it seemed like it was about 5 to 7 days longer than it has been. Often it's usually in that first week of April, but just the way things went, and maybe because of the totem competition, and just, I don't know how it all lined up, but this year was. So I think they're looking for probably an additional, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks in April, over and above what they saw this year. And then pretty much the entire month of August, because we usually don't open up until the long weekend.
Okay. My other question is we talk $80,000 a month per arena. I'm assuming in that cost is depreciation of equipment and a lot of other things that the facilities cost us, because and correct me, I could be completely wrong, but I have a hard time thinking, because we're not adding staff when we open the arenas. We are just moving staff from parks or different parts of the city to there. So we're already paying them. So we're not paying more staff. So in my mind, I'm thinking $80,000 in utility bills.
So it's going to be utilities and staffing, but something that we need to be cognizant of is if we pull staff, if we're opening August 1st, that means we're pulling staff, our full-time people, out of parks the last week of July to get things ready. You know, a couple of folks, which may, depending on the weather, may impact parks somewhat. In the spring, it all depends on the season, whether those arena folks have been moved out to parks by the end of April or not. So there may be some impact to that. Doesn't include depreciation. So it's a shift, but it's the real expenses that you're going to incur. Sure, you're going to move staff, so that's not an ad, let's say, but it's the energy costs that you're going to have for running the plant, probably more specifically. And then you're going to have, you might have, depending on what's going on at the arena, you might have a couple casuals in for the evening shifts or something, but that's, so.
So is that, like, I get, because we just heard this delegation this morning, like, it's impossible to have an accurate number and expect that from staff in that time is, but I feel like in order to make a proper decision on this motion, that I would want that number. So is this something that we could table until next council meeting, or to get a more accurate number and what that means to?
So through your worship, you can, it would probably be good for us to go back and bring a wholesome report that lays it all out, and we can that way have time to go through the scenarios of what staff are getting moved and what that looks like, and the impacts, if any, to parks, and just all those issues, and just to ensure that we give you the most accurate information to make that decision.
And possibly the dates too, like with the minor hockey and figure skating. Okay, Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, I appreciate the questions, but we're going to have a full report. But I get concerned when we have a formula that covers our operating costs, maybe depreciation, and then we'll extract a month from the depreciation side, or 2 months, which then means maybe we would increase the fee for the rest of the year to cover off that lack of depreciation. That depreciation isn't something that we should fool around with, nor the whole fee structure, until we've had a complete comprehensive review of that. We also have, through budget cutting, and correct me again if I'm wrong, Kevin, but my impression from something I believe staff said, that we had cut back too far the grass cutting budget, park maintenance budget. And so I don't think we should, if we do pull people from parks into the Memorial Arena, we do need to replace them, because I got the sense that the cuts were too deep from the point of view of grass cutting and other maintenance for the parks.
So through your worship, on the grass cutting, I know what Molina has done this year is we have staged when folks come back to work, rather than bringing everybody back, let's say May 1st, because if we bring everybody from May 1st to August 30th, let's just use a number of 15 people, we cut the budget that wouldn't afford 15 people. But what we've done by staging when they come in, we can still use the same amount of money, and we can still have 15 people. We just don't have 15 people the entire summer. And so we bring them in, stage them in, and have the most of them when we need them in the high peak periods, and then some leave earlier. So we're able to work within the envelope that we've been given. So that's been a change from last year, that they've developed that to try and better respond and be more efficient with the funding envelope we have. So I think they've come up with a plan to try and address those particular concerns. We'll see how it goes.
And then the other part on depreciation too, that was, Terry said that it wasn't a part of the cost. But I think too, like when you're talking about values, so when they value what, like whoever was hired to value what the arena costs per month, it would have been done from September 1st to, the time that it's used. So you're now extending that time. You would be extending those costs, the hard costs. The soft costs, as in utilities that we pay more as they're used, would go up. But in that time frame of the 6 months, say for example, they would have taken the hard costs from that arena and put them in and allocated them over those months. So now if it's extended a month, it might not be a true reflection of that it's exactly 80,000. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying, but it's, but I guess regardless of that, if council is in favor of getting more information, we can just table this. So do we need a vote for that? Okay. Councillor, did you?
With respect, I'm fine tabling this until we have some more information. One thing I would request in that information, and I'm not sure if you were explicit in this, is as Councillor Parsel mentioned, in previous years, there's been kind of a guarantee of hours. So reaching out to the figure skating and ice user groups to see what kind of hours they're willing to commit to and letting them know that, that is going to inform the decision, I think would be worth having in that report.
Maybe hours and time frame too, like if maybe August 15th works better than August 1st, so then we actually have a true number of what's coming to us, so, okay. Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion to table it? Or do I just do that?
I think we want to refer it, don't we?
Yeah, through your worship, there would be a motion required to refer the motion to staff
Okay.
to bring back a report.
Okay. Councillor McDonald?
I will make said motion to refer to staff, bring back a report.
Okay, second. Councillor Kemp? Okay, I will call that motion to vote. Oh, sorry. I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, we got 11, Chief Administrative Officer Operational Update.
Good afternoon. I just got a couple of things that I wanted to note. I had Melina just give me a little bit of an update on where Parks and Rec is with their spring maintenance. And
Councillor Parsel, can you just?
we have, starting Tuesday, May 23rd, we have 100 of our downtown hanging baskets arriving. And we'll be putting those up through that week. And bedding plants arrive June 5th, and will start to be distributed and planted. And I think we've got 25 concrete planters, 35 barrels, and 61 perennial beds being planted. So things will be going here at the end of this month and into June. Crews will be busy with that. So yeah, I just thought I'd add that.
Perfect. Thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
All right. Next order business, 12 diary. Actually, sorry, did anybody have any questions for Kevin? Okay. Next order business is 12 diary. Nothing in the diary. 13, motion to accept the consent calendar.
Yep.
Councillor McDonald, second Councillor Kemp. Call that to vote. One more. It's good. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next 14, 2022 strategic priorities. I think there's much of an update on that. No. 15 media questions. There's no media. On 16, resolution to 16.1 resolution to move into meeting of council closed to the public to deal with agenda item 3.1 4.1 section 90 minutes as previously noted. Agenda 7.3 section 91C labor relations or employee relations. Agenda item 6.1 section 91E the acquisition, disposition or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality. Agenda item 7.2, section 91J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Councillor Kemp, second Councillor McDonald. Call that to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. So we'll recess for like 15. I had a 2 o'clock meeting with Chief Callio, so I'm gonna just go visit with him for a few minutes. So I might be a couple more minutes, but